When this started, I confess I did not understand. I guess maybe that's how it all turned out to be. Well, such a mess.
If you're new here, welcome. I'm Betsy Burris, a teacher, educator, and psycho coach. Every week, I podcast or write on Substack about using your emotions to feel better and teach better. Sometimes you'll hear stories of educators as told to me or sent into the Teaching Through Emotions hotline, all of them discussed with me and my co-host, Joe Johnson. And sometimes you'll hear an interview with someone who offers an interesting perspective on teaching and learning. We unpack it all here on the feed and on Substack. I'm so glad you're here. So, Joe, how are you?
I am hopefully okay. I am getting a bit of a throat tickle lately, and considering that I'm supposed to get on a plane on the 13th, I really don't want to get sick right now.
Yes, why don't you share what you're doing on the 13th? This is February 13th. Where are you going,
February
Joe?
13th. I am flying to Johannesburg, South Africa, and then to Mon, which is in Botswana. And from there, a tiny little airplane is taking me out to the camp of a company that does safaris, get this, on horseback. So I'm going to be riding around on a horse, looking at hyenas and giraffes and wild dogs and lions and
tigers and bears. Not tigers or bears, I know. Oh my God, Joe, that is going to be so fun. And I mean, just in case there's anybody out there listening who's worrying for you, do you know how to ride a horse?
I'm pretty darn good at riding a horse. Yeah, I'm particularly when it's very, very important that I not fall off. I have stayed on horses before that have really been trying to get me to fall off.
Ooh.
Of course, I have also fallen off horses that were not trying to get me to fall off. But hopefully, I think I'll be all right.
These horses will not be trying to get, unless you get charged by an elephant, which happened to me in an African safari.
Oh my gosh.
You know, a lion or a hippo, worst. They're pretty scary. But these horses must be accustomed to being out in the wild with wild animals.
I'm sure they've seen it all. From what I see on their publicity videos, these horses have done incredible things. And it's going to be a very small group. The maximum number that this company takes to this camp at any given time is 8.
Wow.
So, yeah, it should be a nice, intimate, small group of hopefully like-minded people.
Yeah.
And we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see.
My God. That sounds so fantastic. So you've got to beat that tickle because you're going to go on it whether you're sick or not.
Yeah. If I got to fake it, I will fake it. But I am getting on that plane one way or another.
That is very exciting.
Tomorrow will be a week away from flying away.
Yeah. Oh my God. You've been thinking about this for a long time.
I have been. And I'm trying actually not to think about it now because you just obsessively turn it over and over and over and over in your head and invent things that are not going to be what you're actually going to see.
Yeah, exactly.
You know,
I call that filling the void. That you just can't know, and either you're excited or you're nervous or you're both, and so you start fantasizing about it, and then getting anxious or revved up based on nothing real. There's no reality there.
Exactly.
Yeah, go man. So I have something to distract you with today. It's not a story per se. It's interesting because it's not quite a story. It was brought to my attention from actually an old student of mine, a student that I taught a long time ago, who is now a university professor. And she was really concerned about her experience. She said, I think it's my ego. I want to talk about my ego, which I got to tell you, Joe, I don't know if I've told you this, but I have no use for the word ego.
Really?
I don't know, it's like mindset. You know, it's overused. Yeah. No, it doesn't mean anything anymore. People misuse it. It's so Freudian. And back in the day, but I don't buy it. I feel like people who have a sense of self, if you're talking about your ego being a sense of self, then what's the problem? So she wanted to talk about her ego. I think what we ended up talking about was egotism, which I think is a different thing. And egotism being like arrogance, believing that you're superior or somehow, comparing yourself to others and always coming out on top or needing to come out on top. Egotism is a problem. I can go with that. So that's what we ended up talking about. And that's what you and I are going to talk about. Egotism in teaching.
How about the word egotistical? Do you believe in that one? Or is that...
Egotistical, yeah.
Yeah. That's the one we used to throw out at each other back in like 5th grade. It had a barb on the end of it, and you'd get after somebody. Basically, if they had done something amazing that brought them attention, then everybody talked about them as, oh, he's so egotistical.
Yeah,
and
right.
Maybe he's just being awesome, and others are recognizing that, and it pisses you off. But
well, a couple things. One is, let us validate the 5th graders who are using the word egotistical to describe someone who is, arrogant or bigger than their britches. Mm-hmm. But the second thing I want to say is, sounds like envy to me. I mean, you want to accuse somebody of having, some terrible quality like egotism or egotisticalness, which I think is egotism. And they're not. They're just being admired or acknowledged for being good at something. Then that's actually the 5th graders' problem, right?
Yeah, oh yeah.
But egotism, I think, is what we're talking about here. And I think it's important because I have to say, I mean, we'll probably get to this by the end, but I can have this very same problem. So I want to own that there are circumstances under which my egotism really flares. And they are the same circumstances under which this teacher's egotism flared. And we're going to call her Sue Ellen.
Okay.
So you ready for this? Thinking about egotism and teaching? All right. As I said, she trained with me in a teacher preparation program where we really hammered on instructional design. We were big fans of backward design or understanding by design, and I was a huge fan of it. And I made my student teachers design units like down to the frickin' T, like your objectives, your assessment, they had to match completely. Your lesson plans had to match. You had to be completely disciplined about making sure that you accomplished your objectives and that your assessment matched what you said you wanted the students to learn. And I had, I think, fans, of which Sue Ellen was one, and I had a lot of students who just fucking hated me for making them work so hard at doing something that I guess maybe their cooperating teachers even didn't do. So I'm a big fan of instructional design. Sue Ellen is a big fan, and she's super good at it. Mm-hmm. But she's now at a university where she has colleagues who, unlike her, she was trained in a certification program, right? She taught at the secondary level for many years before she went back to get her doctorate and then got a job at a university. So she learned about instructional design. She applied the skill. She taught in high-stakes teaching situations, namely high school classrooms, and really consolidated her expertise. She values her expertise and she knows what she's talking about. But at the university, as she's working with other people in her department who don't get this, who don't get the value of actually designing instruction or designing lessons, she finds herself getting really ticked, really pissed off.
Is this because they're having to do things together, or they're having to both maintain the same level in the same course? Or like, it's not, she's just mad that they're doing that over there in their room, but it's affecting her somehow.
She's working with them to design instruction that goes across the board, like introductory classes that are taught by many sections. So the teachers in her program, the TAs in her program, all need to get on the same page. And she, I think, naturally takes the lead because she knows what she's doing, but then gets really frustrated when, I mean, there were a bunch of things that she said. She's like, she can feel holier than thou, which is what I would say. And that's a great definition of egotism. Like, that's why she wanted to talk to me. She doesn't like feeling holier than thou, although not completely true. But she said she's conflicted between... Right, she's really self-aware. She's conflicted between feeling holier than thou and worrying that she's hurting the feelings of her colleagues because she likes her colleagues. She really respects and likes them and doesn't want to hurt their feelings, but she can't help it when they don't seem to understand what she's talking about, or they don't get the value of the standard that she's applying or the rigor that she's insisting on. She's like, really? You don't know this? You don't see the value of this? Do you think I'm stupid? Do you think I'm making this up? Like, when you're questioning whether or not I know what I'm talking about, are you kidding me? She does know what she's talking about, and she prides herself on knowing what she's talking about, and just finds herself all aflutter when she's like, how can you not see the depth of the expertise that's required to teach well? How can you not see the depth of the expertise that I had to develop in an actual teaching program and that I'm now applying that you never had to. You just never had to.
Yeah. So these are people who teach and therefore think that they're good at it. But if it's at the university level, you spend your time getting your PhD and you specialize in the material that you're researching and that you're studying, but you don't necessarily learn how to teach at all. And then you go and you are teaching and you're like, well, I've been doing this by the seat of my pants for 25 years. Who are you to come in and like, well, I mean, I have actually studied this.
Yeah.
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 So far, I mean, I feel like I want to defend Sue Ellen and just say like, well, I mean, it's not ego for you to just believe that you know what you're doing, because you freaking do know what you're doing. And if anything, it's the guys on the other side of that equation who it seems likeliest to me have an ego issue, but not to interrupt.
Well, no, that's good. I mean, I feel like the truth is that college and university faculty, exactly as you say, they are never taught how to teach.
Mm-hmm.
They are thrown into the responsibility with virtually no support and no prior experience, unless they TA'd, in which case they also didn't have any support, I'm guessing. I mean, the rare doctoral student has had conversations about teaching. And even if they have, it's unlikely that they had conversations about teaching that were theorized, that were well theorized. Now, let me just say, I went to a very good school of education to get my doctorate. I can't tell you that the teachers there were very good teachers either, right?
Yeah.
But I happen to be interested in these theories and theories about how teachers know and, you know, epistemology and those kinds of things that I studied. So to be fair, college and university professors, it's not valued in their own programs. And so they get to a job and they figure it out. And they figure out what works for them. And in many cases, they do a really fantastic job. Even if they're straight lecturers, they can still be very effective. You know, Parker Palmer himself talks about a professor that he had who lectured all the time, but he was so inspired by that professor that it really worked for him. I'm not a big lecturing fan, but, you know, to each his own. That's what happens at the college and university level. It's like, if it works for you, if it's working for your students, if you're getting good evaluations, keep on keeping on. And then, you know, God help the youngins coming up, the young faculty coming up who have to be observed by you and evaluated by you, because really, what do you have to offer? Kind of like, this is what works for me. There's no theory. There's no understanding of how to break teaching and learning down, how to think about how they might match up or not. No real experience of alternative approaches to teaching, you know, the stuff that you do every day. So, you know, you do what you have to do. And that's what happens at college and university. And then someone joins a faculty who knows exactly what she's doing and knows the theory and knows the reasoning and knows the approach and has really high standards and has this aesthetic. It's like, this has to be tight. And she feels thwarted by her colleagues' ignorance. So, you know, it's not a specific story, but the question really is, how does a teacher like this navigate the relationships, the collegial relationships, when you're feeling diminished or demeaned or erased or unseen for what you value most? Like, you really value this about yourself and your colleagues are incapable of seeing it in yourself. So you find yourself kind of rearing up and in the process kind of standing up for yourself, which might be egotistical, and you worry that you're somehow rubbing your colleagues the wrong way. And you don't want to do that because it's not actually wise, but it also isn't good for your friendship, your relationship with them. What do you think, Joe?
Yeah, I keep coming back to like, this feels like Sue Ellen disliked the feeling inside herself of feeling, I guess, superior or feeling like she didn't deserve, well, she deserved more recognition than she was getting. She deserved more respect than she was getting. But it also sounds like that was very likely just freaking true. Like, you know, like you do deserve more than you're getting out of these colleagues, and they aren't really treating you in a respectful way, and they aren't valuing the expertise that you bring. Everybody brings something, and they're not valuing this, and they should. And they're, well, at a level in a profession where the skill that you bring is not prized. So that's just a symptom of this whole game. Like, that's, of course they don't prize what I do. What I do is the thing that they don't do.
Yeah. You know, what's interesting here in this particular story, or in Sue Ellen's experience, I don't think she feels put down or disrespected by her colleagues. I think she feels respected this is actually a lovely instance because there are places where your colleagues can be very disrespectful of your expertise. But in this case, that's not her problem. They're receptive to what she has to say and they don't resist. But she also told me they don't get it. So that's one thing. The flip side of that is she actually said to me, I actually don't mind feeling self-righteous. I actually kind of like feeling self-righteous, right? So, I mean, talk to any woke white person. It feels great to be self-righteous, right? Better to be self-righteous than to be on the wrong side of whatever's PC. So being self-righteous is a very popular and very satisfying emotion, which she too has. And as you say, she is right. She is righteous. She is right. But the self-righteousness is, I think, what gets her. She enjoys it and knows that it can be off-putting.
Yeah.
So what to do with this kind of egotism? Because I can say I feel the exact same way, Joe. You know this because I've complained to you about this, that when I work with faculty, and I have for many, many years, the young ones, they love doing instructional design. I teach them how to design their courses. We do it together. And then I support them through the academic year and support groups so they can practice implementing and dealing with, the difficulties. Very successful program. I'm no longer doing it. But the veteran faculty are much less interested in that kind of work. And in my experience, can be really dismissive of it.
Yeah.
And it just burns my ass. It burns my ass, which is not becoming. It's totally unbecoming of me, but it's real. I feel it. And it makes sense to me that I would rear up, even though I would never dream of telling a teacher at any level, early childhood through graduate school, that what they do doesn't matter. I get it all the time.
Yeah.
In fact, I worked in a teacher ed program where the president of the college did not have any use for an education degree. I had a PhD in education and she just completely swept me off the table. Like, the head of an educational institution has no use for an education degree. I'm sure there are people out there who feel the same way, but they'd be wrong because there's a lot to think about. And that's what Sue Ellen believes, is that there's so much depth here to being a good teacher. You guys have no idea. And it's frustrating for her to be around people who have no idea.
Yeah. I just keep going back to, man, maybe this is a me thing because I'm automatically siding with Sue Ellen in this. Everywhere I look, I see enemies of Sue Ellen. But I don't know. I think the attitude of the others who feel like I have nothing to learn from this person despite all their expertise, that's where the arrogance is. And maybe Sue Ellen would benefit from working on disconnecting her own self from the opinions of these people about what she does. They are disdainful of what she does and what she thinks is important, what she has practiced. Doesn't mean that they are disdainful of her. And, when someone doesn't like, I had the hardest time with this when I was an art student, and you would do a crit and you put something that you'd worked very hard up on the wall and have people point out things about it that didn't work.
Yeah.
And they were right to point these things out. But, oh my God, it's a good thing I'm not a Jedi because they would have all just choked to death right there. Like it connects with me. Like, how dare you say this about me? And it's not about you. It's about a thing that you did.
Yeah.
And that can be criticized. But this is more like, okay, I put my thing up on the wall and those people are just saying, well, I don't like art. Like, well, okay, I guess one can live one's life that way. Nothing to do with me. Just that this brings up unpleasant feelings for her, maybe because she's so attached to what she does. And that's the conundrum, right? Because you can't teach meaningfully, I don't think, or well, if you aren't at least a little bit emotionally vulnerable to what your students think and how they react to what you do. On the other hand, if you're completely emotionally vulnerable to all that, you can't keep getting up in front of them every day.
Yeah.
You got to have a bulletproof vest for some things, but you got to have a Swiss cheese vest for others.
I feel like, when you're talking about faculty who are disdainful, you're talking about some of the faculty I worked with, not the ones that Sue Ellen is working with, because I don't think they're disdainful. They're just ignorant. And so I think she's an interesting case. I mean, we could be talking about like what I could have done with a faculty who were disdainful of me because I really just raged, sometimes at them, which was not wise. But Sue Ellen, she's in a situation where she's got kind people who keep missing things, who don't understand why what she's doing is what they should be doing. And so she has to repeat herself and continue to point it out. And it aggravates her. But I think I do really love the idea of facing the reality in the relationship that, is the problem in them, or is it that Sue Ellen is holding back from teaching them? Like, if she's expecting them to know what she knows, I mean, teachers do this all the time, right? Like, why don't you know what I know? It's kind of like what you're talking about, detaching from the object of your frustration, like the art on the wall, but detaching from a colleague who doesn't know, or a student who doesn't know what you think they really need to know. And I'm trying to figure out what your emotions are telling you about that situation and what your colleague or your student might be telling you about where they stand in relation to what you're trying to do. As a good teacher, Sue Ellen could be wondering how to teach her colleagues how to do what she does.
Yeah.
And even be explicit about that, to say, you know what, you guys, I find this really frustrating, but I realize you might too. You probably do too. That when I talk about designing these lessons, or when I talk about these lessons, or when I insist on having this kind of consistency across the board, or this kind of routine, or this kind of sequence, I know what I'm talking about, but I don't think you do. And I think it might be fair for me to kind of go meta occasionally to explain to you where I'm coming from.
Yeah.
So that we can kind of co-create a vocabulary that we all learn the meaning of, so that we can be talking to each other in this, jargony way, this way that is a shorthand that we all know now. And I don't have to be fuming every time I use a word that you don't know, or do something that you don't understand the value of.
Yeah. It's really tough to, at the same time, want to bring them up to speed and get them to really buy in and understand and believe in something. But then you are attaching to an outcome. And when that outcome doesn't arrive, then you just feel like a failure, or you feel like, look, I have this big display of pearls for you guys and you're not appreciating them. And I'm angry about that. But yeah, when you attach to the outcome rather than, I guess, maybe the relationship that you need to build. Why is it that they are rejecting this?
Yeah.
What kind of bridge can I build to this so that they can, come and observe and see how I do this? And yeah, it's hard. It's hard to give somebody advice about something they're doing when they don't think they're doing anything wrong.
Yeah. Or again, with her, they want to do what's right, but they don't understand why it's right, and then might continue to miss the boat. I feel like both of these scenarios are slightly different, but I think what you're getting at, I think it's important, is to go for the relationship and think about what, again, for me, what were these faculty teaching me about themselves? How important it was for them to be the experts in the field that I was an expert in. Like, that would have been an interesting question for me to ask myself. Was I threatening? How are they perceiving me? Was I somehow overstepping a boundary that for some reason they didn't want to honor my garden, but they really didn't want me in their garden? Like, they saw my expertise as being an invasion of their garden? Or, in a college and university, this is how intellectuals function. They have to fight with each other, right? They have to fight for dominance. They want to get the most citations possible. I'm the smartest person in the room. You're not smart. And you're not teaching? What does it even mean to be smart about teaching? What do you have to tell me? What do you have to teach me? It was really the attitude of some of the people that I worked with at this college. Not all of them, not the people that worked with me. And there were dozens and dozens, maybe over 100 faculty that I worked with over the years who were lovely. But it was more the senior faculty. But in Sue Ellen's case, I think she wants to be able to resolve the conflict between wanting to be right and wanting to be friendly, wanting to basically correct her colleagues, but not wanting to hurt their feelings, wanting them to not be impinged upon negatively by her, which is kind of a dilemma, right? Because if she sees herself as any corrective action she takes with them as being, insulting to them, then maybe she needs to change that attitude. Like, it's not insulting. I'm just doing the right thing. And I happen to be the one person in this group who knows how to do it. So like I said, let's get explicit about it. I know about instructional design. Do you guys want to hear what I know, or do you want to hear my reasoning for the ways that I've constructed these lessons? Because I'm happy to explain it. And I'd love to open up the conversation so we can keep talking about this over time.
Were these colleagues all considerably older, or is this just something we're kind of assuming?
No, I don't think they're considerably older.
Okay.
I think they're friend material. They're friends. You know, some of the people Sue Ellen loves and hangs out with.
Well, there's hope then. I mean, there's hope. It's a long game that you're playing to try to get somebody to come around to something that you are more interested than most people, and that you've studied more than practically any, and that you really believe in fervently. There aren't many people like that. And hopefully they come around. Maybe it's a question of inviting them to see how it works in your room.
Yeah.
And just say, hey, I'd love you to give me some feedback on what you see me doing. And then they see it.
Yep.
Because otherwise they're just kind of expected to believe it.
And do it without actually having any skill at it.
Yeah.
Yeah, interesting.
Do you find yourself overwhelmed by the reams of advice about how to live your life that you scroll through every day? Well, me too. I'm Stephanie van Bismarck. On my podcast, How Do We Manage?, we tackle life's challenges with expert guests who bust myths around everything from AI to hormonal health and online dating to child protection. All with some great practical tips to help us find balance. How Do We Manage is out every Tuesday. Why not make it part of your week? Get it wherever you're listening to this.
Hey, listeners, this show wouldn't be possible without your support, whether that's your lovely reviews that make my day, a reply to the Substack issues, or becoming a paid subscriber. So I want to thank those of you who have chosen to join in on supporting every month with a paid subscription. Thank you, Carrie. Thank you, Libby. Thank you, Carrie. That's different from Carrie. That's Carrie and Carrie. Thank you, Heather. Thank you, Julia. If you become a Substack supporter, I have a lot of goodies and behind-the-scenes snippets for you. One kind of goodie is unfiltered bonus episodes where you get to hear teacher stories that don't make it to the feed because they are so infuriating that my thoughts are turned up to 11. We gotta protect your ears. On top of these bonus stories, you'll get to hear occasional public service announcements, rants really, about current educational and world issues. You'll have access to nearly 200 actionable and entertaining blog posts. You can get a discount on my book, The Feeling of Teaching, or even get it for free. At the highest level, you get a free hour-long consultation with me to work through and feel good about the worst day of your teaching life. You can become a paid subscriber for as little as $5 a month, the price of a good beer, by going to teachingthroughemotions.com. If you are not able to become a paid subscriber at this moment, you can still help out formidably by leaving a review or sharing an episode with a friend who might enjoy it. I will be forever grateful. Thank you so much for being here. Now, back to the episode. Here's a general question for you, Joe, and I hope this resonates with teachers who are listening or anyone who's listening. What about being good at something? As you say, like, what about being a fifth grader who's like the fastest kid in the school and all the other kids call him or her egotistical?
Yeah.
What do you do when you are super good at something, you've worked hard at it, or you're just naturally good at it? Are we supposed to hide our lights under a bushel? Or, how do we manage our own reality in the face of other people's realities when other people might either be ignorant or unappreciative or envious? I mean, how do we manage our own excellence? And I feel like this is true for everyone. Everyone who's listening has some version of excellence that they probably feel really proud of. What do you do with that without coming across as egotistical?
Yeah, that's a tough one. And that's not just teaching, that's just life.
It's just life.
And there's cultural stuff involved too, where to be able to comfortably just display extreme competence and not worry about how that makes anybody else feel about you or about themselves. Because look, if that's how somebody is going to take it, I can't predict that. I can't prevent that. This is just me doing my thing. And, if you like it, that's great. And if you don't, okay. But this is me doing my thing. And without worrying about that, about how it affects other people, I think that's rare. It's a rare quality.
Yeah.
I wind up writing a lot of letters of recommendation for high school seniors. And there was one that I wrote this year who has that. And it wound up being just a real theme in my recommendation. It's like, yeah, grades are great and, behavior is awesome and well-rounded kid, blah, blah, blah. But there's just this confident exercising of his ability, his capacity that he does without his heart rate going up all the time. He doesn't hide it. He also doesn't flaunt it. It's just there. And everybody recognizes it and people are drawn to him. And that's tough to teach somebody how to do,
Yeah.
I think you just exude that or don't.
Yeah. That's great. And I think egotism, actual egotism, that is happening within the person who's good at something, as opposed to egotism that is perceived or determined by somebody outside that person. But when I am egotistical, that implies an imbalance in myself. For me, taking personally other people's, ignorant perspectives or opinions about what I do, rather than doing what I would recommend anybody to do, doing emotion work on it. What are they teaching me about themselves? What are they teaching me about myself? And given the guesses that I make, what am I going to try with them? I mean, if I had done that and I didn't, I just let myself get fucking pissed and insulted, then I might have been able to, affect more useful, productive relationships in a couple cases, not all. I did fine. I did just fine, and I'm doing fine. But there were a couple of relationships that still kind of bugged me because of my inability or my unwillingness to kind of figure out what was going on in there. And that was my work to do.
Yeah. It all comes back down to that when you approach any situation, classroom or otherwise. Yeah, I don't know why I keep coming back to the image of like your heart rate's not going up. This is, I have prepared and I am confident in how I've prepared and what I know and what I don't know, and also completely, perfectly willing to accept and admit what I don't know.
Yes, exactly.
Or can't do. That might be part of it too, when you're walking around triggered because you're assuming that somebody is going to find out what a fraud you are. It's like, I'm not a fraud. I'm not pretending to be anything other than what I am. I'm not pretending to know anything that I don't know. This is what I know and what's what I bring to the table. And I offer it to you. And you may spit at it. Oh, well, that's surprising.
Yes, right,
but
right.
It doesn't have to hurt me,
Yeah, exactly.
Such great advice I got years and years ago from someone too, who was approaching a situation where I thought, oh man, this is going to be a fight. And he said, why is it going to be a fight? And I said, well, because she's going to want to fight with me. She can jump down in the fighting pit and say, get in here. But you don't have to do that. You just don't jump in.
Just wave.
Yeah. Regarding ego in the classroom, I think when I look back on, it sounds mean, but when I look back on like the worst teachers that I've known, people who really, really did not have a successful classroom environment. If anything, I think those people could have done with more in the way of ego and self-regard.
Yeah.
Because it's really, really tough to walk into a room with a bunch of people and, establish an atmosphere in which everybody is happy to be there and engaged with the material. I don't know how you do that unless you believe that you deserve to establish that atmosphere. And if you go in there trying to prove to yourself or to anybody that you have worth, like, well, right there, the kids just smell that immediately. The students smell that and they're not going to buy it. It's like, who's this guy to sell me anything? Who's this guy to convince me that this is going to be fun? He doesn't believe it. Look at him. And I mean, you have to have a love for and a regard for yourself, and you have to have a respect for and a regard for all the people in the room with you. And I don't know how you do that unless somewhere deep down you are basically confident and believe in yourself. If anything, the worst teachers I've known have not had enough ego. You could have too much, I suppose, You could have
be
too much.
egotistical,
Yes.
right?
But, people with an above average, maybe even like dangerous amount of ego, I could see them being great teachers more than someone who just doesn't have any.
That's such a good point, Joe. And I would also say that in addition to the self-confidence that we're now calling ego, the self-love, I think that's really important, and self-confidence and self-regard, as you put it really articulately, they also, I think, need to love their students. Like, I'm so excited to be with you today. I am bringing me here, and my confidence in myself, I don't even have to think about it. I just am going to do it because I know what I've got in store for you is awesome. So I can focus all of my energy out towards you guys because I'm happy to be with you, as opposed to reserving even a little bit of energy for protecting myself or trying to fight myself, keep myself from questioning myself or worrying about what I'm going to do next or whether or not I know what I'm talking about, or right? So this is a lovely example of how ego, the bad rap it's got, isn't useful here. Because if we define ego as self-love, self-regard, self-knowledge, self-confidence, which is all self stuff, that's exactly what we want in teachers, right?
Yeah.
And teachers who don't have that self stuff are at such a disadvantage. So it's this really interesting fine line.
Yeah.
And how do you cultivate that in yourself? Sue Ellen has it. She has the self-regard.
I think she must. Otherwise, how would she have you have to have a certain amount of self-regard to question yourself honestly.
Yeah, right?
And I think a lot of people don't.
Yep, exactly.
They come off as a fraud because they are a fraud. This
Right.
is fake. They're faking this.
Right?
And
That's so interesting.
I wonder too, like, I have tried a couple of times and I won't even bother anymore. I cannot play poker. I have zero poker face. If I'm feeling it in here, you're going to see it up here. I have zero poker face. And I think that there is almost nothing fraudulent when I walk in the room.
Right.
It's like, no, what you see is what you get.
It's real.
I know what I'm talking about. And I know I'm an interesting enough person to tell you this story about, language and geography, culture, history. And okay, I don't have to worry about it anymore.
No. And you can be excited about it.
Yes.
Right? Excited and happy. And
I don't come off as excited about it because I'm trying to come off as excited about it.
right, exactly.
I am excited about it.
Exactly. Oh, Joe, I love it. So important.
Yeah. And I wish I could walk around feeling that way all the time and approaching all my interactions that way. I don't. But that's the goal.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm glad that Sue Ellen brought this to me and to us. Ultimately, it's not a typical story for TTE at all. But I guess in a world where the professionals aren't valued kind of across the board, namely the education world, the teaching world, in Sue Ellen's case, and in my case, it was just a really obvious mismatch between the type of expertise we have and the people around us who didn't know any better, right? College faculty have and university faculty, they've got their worries and aggravations and anxieties, and they just don't need to value me or Sue Ellen. We'll come back to axioms for Sue Ellen in a minute. But, teachers aren't valued. I would say, I don't know, if there's anyone listening who doesn't agree with this statement, please write it in a comment. But I think across the board in this country, teachers are not valued. Their expertise is not valued. Their subject matter expertise is not valued. And their knowledge of teaching, their instincts about relationships, their ability to manage incredibly differentiated classes, students with more and more mental illness now, people still wonder what the hell teachers do during the summer, or why would you become a teacher if it's not just to get the vacation? Are you fucking kidding me? Teaching is such a complex and I would say high stakes profession that I can understand why Sue Ellen and every other teacher on the planet would be, air quotes, egotistical in the face of people who dismiss or undervalue or take down what they do and decide that their expertise doesn't make any difference at all. Doesn't compare to their own.
Yeah. 2010 in Wisconsin, they passed the I can't remember what it was called, Act number something, or Act 10. It was Act 10 that removed the ability of public school teachers to unionize.
Ah.
And there were so many people who were crowing about this and cheering about this. And it was peak Facebook days. And as a teacher, you just wound up in all these Facebook arguments with people that you barely know or only tangentially, like your friend of this friend. But they're just coming after you as a teacher about how, I don't see any reason why you should make any more money than I do. My job is much harder than yours. It's like, well, if that's true, if you are working at a job that is far more difficult than the one that I'm doing, and you're making less money, and my job is easy, anybody could do it, why aren't you?
Yeah, exactly.
Jump on in here. Come on in. Water's fine. Look at me in my bathtub full of rubies and doing nothing for a living. Come on in, man. Let's go.
Exactly.
You know why you're not doing it? You can't.
Exactly.
It's not fucking easy. It is not easy.
Those who can't teach can't.
Yeah. It's something like
or those
that.
who don't teach can't.
Yeah, that's
Right.
why you don't. You can't.
Exactly.
I mean, whatever. You can have 100 reasons why you do what you do for a living. You love it. It's what you were born to do. It's whatever. You find it spiritually fulfilling, blah, blah, blah. Okay, great. Good for you. But don't tell me that the job that I'm doing is just something that any idiot could do. Anyone
Exactly.
could do that. It's easy. It's nothing. Well,
Yeah.
then do it.
Right?
It's
Try
not
it.
easy.
Let's see it. And who of us would say to that guy, your job is stupid? Who cares about your job? I wouldn't say that to anybody.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
We need all jobs. We need everyone doing what they do. Why would I need to diminish or devalue someone's job? This also gets to another really important issue that we can comment on if we have any. But, really the fact that teaching and teachers are such easy targets, such easy objects for society to dump their shit into. I mean, I'm thinking about COVID and the fact that teachers are still being blamed for not wanting, and I don't know, there are plenty of teachers who were just in pain over hybrid teaching. They hated it. They knew it didn't work. And they would have done anything probably to get back into the school, into the classroom with their kids. But they had, they couldn't, for one thing, but they had their own kids at home and their own elderly parents at home, and they couldn't afford to catch some disease that could kill them. And yet our country just kind of has fallen into this narrative about teaching and schools during COVID as if teachers were somehow, once again, the villains here.
Yeah,
and
we're
made
the worst.
everybody unhappy and uncomfortable. Unbelievable. It's such an easy garbage can for everybody's irresponsible, undisciplined kvetching.
Exactly. And to bring it back to Sue Ellen, like she's in a group of professors, that is to say, teachers, and she is the teacheriest teacher. And so she's the one they go after. She's the one that's like they respect the least. Among teachers, the teacherier you are, the less weight you pull.
Yeah, but again, that's not Sue Ellen's experience. It's my experience.
Okay.
I was the teacheriest, totally the teacheriest. And certain people were like, yeah, fuck you. Right. But again, Sue Ellen is not being disrespected or rejected. That's me conflating our stories. But it's mostly she doesn't want to offend anybody, but she really hates it that they don't know how to do what she values. So it's that. And I think we've kind of talked about what she could be doing. It's these other situations where teachers at any level are facing people who absolutely have no use for them, people have use for teachers. Often they use teachers as I said, punching bags or objects of their disdain. Projecting their own self-loathing onto, or their own sense of helplessness in the face of their students, their children's resistance or inability to learn or whatever. And they expect teachers to raise their kids for them. And then they blame teachers when their kids don't come home, having done a perfect job during the day or having got great grades or being a good kid, whatever. There's so much going on with teachers. There's so much projection onto teachers that those are the circumstances that I think you're describing, where there's disdain coming at teachers right and left. Not Sue Ellen necessarily, but everybody else.
Yeah. All right.
Sue Ellen's lucky in this case. What's beautiful about her is that she was noticing these feelings in herself and noticed this conflict between feeling self-righteous, which she has a right to feel, as you say, but also worrying that she was being hard on her colleagues and possibly threatening their friendships or their relationships. And she did not want to do that. So that's what we're kind of getting. That's what started this conversation. But honestly, Sue Ellen, if you're listening, that problem is much less interesting than the one we're talking about right now, which is when teachers get shat on by everybody. And it sucks and it's wrong. It's wrong. So, when you're objectified, I say to people that the antidote is to resubjectify. How to do that? Unionizing. That's a way to resubjectify, to actually say, nope, I'm actually a subject. You might want to attack me. You might want to project on me or put me down or decide who I am without any knowledge whatsoever about who I am and what I do. But I'm going to stand up and say, nope, I actually have these rights. I'm going to call you and talk to you about whatever comment you made that indicates that you're ignorant of what your child is doing or what I'm doing. I'm going to stand up. I'm going to show up. I'm going to be in my garden and represent myself kindly. And as you say, without my heart racing.
Right.
Because that's what relationships are. And when people objectify you, they deny the relationship. They cut the relationship off. So as you were saying before, Joe, go for the relationship. If you're one of these teachers who feels diminished or demeaned or despised by someone in your orbit, go for the relationship and figure out what they're teaching you about themselves and what they might need from you.
Yeah. I wish I could operate that way all the time.
Yeah.
But I do strive to. It's a great thing to be able, as a teacher, to admit that you don't. That's not even admitting. It's just seeing finally that you don't have to know everything.
Right.
And you don't have to do everything perfectly. You just have to be moving toward that. And you'll keep that up until you stop teaching, but you're not infallible. There's no mask of perfect knowledge, no illusion of that you have to maintain. You know your subject matter quite well, but there's often going to be a question the kid will ask you and you'll be like, I don't actually know that.
Right.
That's a good question. Let's explore that question. I'm going to find out about this.
What a great moment.
Oh, it's the best. It's the best when a kid says something that, that is the fact. What a great question. And I can't answer it.
Yeah.
Love that. But I didn't always react that way. I was often very annoyed with students who were pointing out something I didn't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very normal.
I guess I'm talking about that because of the whole, you teachers think you know everything. And I don't. I absolutely don't know everything. I do know how this classroom works. I do know how the dynamics work here. I know how to walk your students through the basics, through the middle to the end. I do know how to do that, but they're not perfect, not infallible. It's work, man. I don't know what I would do, honestly, if I weren't married to a teacher. Because I come home and that's all we talk about.
Yeah. Wow.
It's either our kids or, dynamics in the classroom or, sometimes administrative stuff, but it's, you have to have that. I have to have that sounding board all the time.
Yeah.
Because, what do you do with all your vacation time? I'm like, dude, I think about it like all the time. I bring all the experiences I have back into the classroom and it's very intense. This is the whole point of your book and the podcast and all of your projects is like, it's an extremely emotionally fraught landscape and teachers need the tools to navigate it.
Yeah.
And it's like life intensified. You've got your own life percolating away inside your skin. And then you got all these other lives and they're all percolating away.
Yeah.
In the meantime, we got to try to learn algebra.
It's so true. And I think what I love about what you're saying is that, I think probably anything that anyone does, if they take this attitude, can do this. But teaching, definitely, because it's so relationship based, it's a petri dish for teachers and students. Students have to grow. They have to develop and grow in a classroom, but so do teachers. And what a beautiful thing, like being a parent, as you say, you and your wife talk about your kids, your teaching and administrative, and you're talking about relationships all the time because those are the things that drive you crazy. The problems that need to be solved, the people who are standing in your way, the ways that people confuse you. They're not doing what you expect them to do or need them to do or want them to do. the ways to become better teachers and parents and colleagues and administrators is to do that kind of talking and not just, Jesus Christ, can you believe that? How stupid is this person? It's, okay, what's the behavior? What are they teaching me about myself? What are they teaching me about themselves? And where's the emotional bedrock? And how do I tune the relationships so that we get to what needs to get gotten to? It's really great work. And intense, as you say, but it's how we grow and change. And I can't recommend it highly enough. So, Sue Ellen, you already know about this work because you know who I am. And you probably listen to all this stuff and read all the stuff I post, but I hope this has been helpful. And so, Joe, now's the chance for you or me, one of the other of us, to come up with an axiom, which I haven't planned ahead.
This is a tough one. There's a sci-fi series that my son started reading, and I started reading it too. Very cool, by a guy who studies like meditation and stuff. And there's this magic portal that the emperor can go through to instantly transport himself to different parts of this far-flung empire, but only a certain number of people can use it. And to use it, you have to let go of yourself entirely. You have to disconnect from all emotional reactions. You have to be like in such a perfect state of
neutrality.
The word is, like all of my emotions are off, and then you can use it. And it takes years and years and years of concentration to get there. Very few people can do it. And it's just kind of a cool concept. And I found myself reminded of that as we're reading. It's called The Emperor's Blades, that book. But I'm reminded of that because so much ego gets in the way of so many interactions, and yet it's so hard to let go of it. You would be much more effective. You could transport yourself, to a better place all the time if you could see things clearly without the clouds of your own emotional entanglements, and if you didn't take other people's emotional projections personally.
Yeah, right on.
Just like, they are shook up about the way they teach versus, and right there, I just said versus, as opposed to, it's got to be in opposition somehow, the way I teach. And that's, wow, they're sensitive about this. And I'm bringing something to the table that shakes them up a little bit. How can I not do that?
Or what can I make of that?
Yeah. These detachments are, let it go, maybe.
Let it go.
The axiom, let go, because you can't see, as long as you're clinging to all these things, your ego and their ego, as long as everybody's clinging to their egos, you can't see.
Yeah. You can't transport. Yeah, I guess my worry is that I think neutrality is a lovely concept. I don't know if it's a word that meditators use, but there is a kind of expectation that if you sit mindfully, you will be able to transcend, or at least just watch the distractions that your body throws up in your mind, your thoughts and your emotions, and that there is this kind of neutrality that we can achieve. I think it's really, really important, crucial skill to be able to be mindful and to be able to detach in the ways that you describe. So I want to piggyback on your axiom by saying, okay, if you can't be neutral, then at least know how to make use of your emotions so that you can turn them into something super constructive. That is, do emotion work, right? Go for the neutrality, but be ready to do emotion work on whatever residual emotions you can't let go of, because they're actually really useful and important information that can help you not just calm yourself and kind of resolve any difficulties that you're experiencing, any suffering that you're experiencing, but it can actually help you resolve tension or conflict with another person. The emotion work in your garden, that work is all about sending yourself along the line between you and your colleague or your partner in relationship in a way that is actually salutary for them as well. It will calm them down as well. It will make them understand themselves. It would make your relationship stronger. So go for neutrality, but also be ready to do emotion work, because there's incredible power there.
Because whatever the material is that is at issue, the material itself probably is not what is gumming up the works here.
Exactly. It's not the content.
It's not the teaching philosophies or tips that you might be able to impart that are getting in the way here. It's something else.
Yeah. And the word ego doesn't really do it for me. There's something deeper. There's something with a better word, whatever it is. For me, a desire to be acknowledged or a need to be seen accurately and to feel the kind of energy that comes from people seeing me accurately. Everyone needs to be seen accurately. In my situation and my experiences with some faculty, I wasn't seen accurately and it drove me crazy. So that's my need. And if it's not coming my way from certain people, then I have work to do so that I don't get snagged on their inability to see me accurately. And why would I expect them to then? Why wouldn't I go someplace else where I can be seen? So I think it would be nice if I could have been neutral in the face of these people who I found insulting. I couldn't be. So then my work was to actually figure out to do emotional work on myself and leave them be. Let them be.
Yeah. There's always work that you can do on yourself. There's never work that you can do on somebody else.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
You know?
I mean, you can make guesses about somebody else. And they can be really accurate guesses, right? And you can offer corrective experience to somebody else, but you will not change them. Mm-hmm. That is not a guarantee that they will change. That is not your job. You don't get in their garden. You stay out of their fucking garden. Or as we say, stay in your effing garden.
Yep. Maybe that's
Joe,
it.
Thank you very much for this very interesting conversation about egotism and teaching. Teachers.
Fun as always.
Yeah. Let us know. I mean, it's kind of a weird topic. I've never thought of it before, but it was just such a great topic. So I hope you've enjoyed it. Listeners, please leave comments. If you feel as though you're being egotistical, leave a comment. Call us on the TTE hotline, 413-239-4158, and we will respond to you and help you. Joe,
Betsy,
have a fan-fucking-tastic time in Africa, in Botswana, where I really want to go.
I will do my damnedest to do so, and I will tell you all about it when I get back.
Cannot wait. Be well, be safe, and thank you.
Thank you, Bets. Talk soon.
TTE is a Podvision production, created and hosted by me, Betsy Burris, and co-hosted by Joe Johnson. Production and audience development support from Julian Androkaya and Andrea Koskay. Crucial editing by Brad Wells. And the music, which makes me smile and dance every time I hear it, by Tom Burris of Jabbering Trout. Thanks one and all. If you like this episode, text it to a friend. And if you haven't already, sign up for my Substack, where you can become a paid subscriber and get all kinds of goodies, including exclusive podcast episodes that will change your life. That's teachingthroughemotions.com. Thank you for listening.
It's all true. It's all